21-year-old Jacob Smith produces shoelaces made from wool. Not the soft merino type, but the coarser stuff which makes up the bulk of wool produced in New Zealand. With the rise of synthetics, the demand has dropped for so-called strong wool, and that's proving to be a bit of a headache for sheep farmers, something Jacob's keen to address. His venture was born out of a project at uni, where he was studying product design. I asked him, why shoelaces?
It's a bit of a weird thing. I often talk to people about it, and that's the first question I ask: why on earth would you do shoelaces? But I've always really loved shoes. I always liked being able to swap the laces on my shoes and change the look. And at the time of doing my paper for university, I was feeling a bit unfulfilled with university, and I hadn't really gotten what I wanted to get out of my degree. And I said to myself, like, this semester, I'm just going to do something that interests me. So I went into the mindset of how can I bring, shoe culture or shoes into this paper. I didn't know what the paper was going to be, and it was strong wool. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know how on earth I can do this. This is not going to work. But I started testing out wool, doing all sorts of stuff, dipping it in honey, knitting it, felting it. And when I did the knitting, I made this rectangle. And I was like, what if I made this rectangle a little bit longer? Oh, what if I made it a little bit skinnier? And all of a sudden I had this shoelace. And then I started reading about how many shoes go into waste each year. There's over 20 billion pairs of shoes annually globally that get thrown out, which is insane. And I was wearing them on my shoes, and they weren't coming untied because the wool fibers bind together. And it was only a 12-week project, but I felt like afterwards I'd created this thing that was solving a problem, promoting the wool industry, and was feasible to be able to create a business out of, which was really cool. I exhibited it, and I got funding from AUT Ventures, which is a sub-organization within AUT. So they gave me a $20,000 grant to commercialize it. And I worked on that throughout my third year of university at the same time of doing my paper, which was a big juggle. And then I went full-time into doing my business this year.
And your shoelaces aren't just plain old white shoelaces, are they?
They're not. So everyone likes to have different colored shoelaces. And the thing with wool is that it's completely biodegradable. And I wanted to keep that same ethos when I was making my shoelaces. And throughout my testing at university, I started looking at eco-dyeing. So my shoelaces are dyed with all sorts of different materials. So that could be from onion skins to red cabbage. Red cabbage is a universal indicator. So you can change the pH level of it based on adding vinegar or baking soda. There's all sorts of colors that you can make with things that are natural, which is really cool. And it's become a really unique selling point for us because people love to be able to get involved with how these colors are created and where their values. We did a collaboration with AUT that's in the works at the moment of creating a shoelace that's stocked in the AUT shop that's made and dyed with the coffee grounds from the AUT cafe. So they will exclusively stock shoelaces made from their own coffee grounds, which is really cool.
Huh. Can you explain the process from shearing to shoelace? What happens to the wool along the way?
So our wool comes from a farm currently in the South Upper Palliser Ridge, but the goal is to be able to get wool from all sorts of different places in New Zealand and support as many farms as possible. Their process is the wool gets sent from raw wool after it's shorn to go to Napier, a place called Woolworks, where they scour the wool. It's effectively cleaning it. And they're really amazing with all of their strides to get more sustainable. They use a lot of recycled water. That can be a big negative, I guess, to wool use is the water consumption, but they're really conscious of how they can make that better, which I think is really important, even when they don't have any competitors in New Zealand trying to do that and be as sustainable as possible. After it's in there, it's then sent back down to Wellington to get turned into yarn at Wool Yarns, and then we pick it up. It gets taken up to Tauranga, where it gets knitted into a shoelace at our manufacturers there, into a big, long 100-meter shoelace, where we then bring it down to Auckland, which is where I'm based, and then I dye it with all sorts of eco dyes there, dry it, and then we add the aglet, which is the very small piece of plastic on the end. We use a bioplastic called cellulose acetate, which is a wood-based plastic, and we have that machine. Actually, I have it in my little home studio. It's a 250 kg machine that I had to buy so that I could make it here, and it also allows me to do custom lengths for people and release on small batches, which is really good. Once it's done that, we then package it with kind of a mailer, and then you can open it and read about our brand story before revealing your product, because it's no secret that it's more expensive to make things in New Zealand. So we wanted our packaging to reflect a higher quality packaging that you can give as a gift and reflect a higher price point. And all of our packaging is made out of recycled cardboard and recycled paper.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that you're not knitting all these shoelaces yourself.
Yeah.
That would have been a step too far.
Yeah, maybe.
So what were some of the biggest hurdles in turning strong wool into this usable, durable product like a shoelace?
The main hurdle, I guess, is perhaps before the shoelace stage is strong wool's applications are very limited because of its coarse nature and it can feel a bit itchy on your skin. So the first aspect is trying to figure out how to use it. And that's where the shoelace came in. It's not a skin to skin application, but it can be used in that way. The second way is New Zealand production, which is a really big thing. We don't really have infrastructure to create things in New Zealand, and I think that sucks. And I want to try and challenge that because I think it's really important now more than ever to be trying to make things locally as possible. So setting up all of our manufacturing here, and most importantly, getting the costs to a reasonable price point was really hard. We had to switch knitting machines because it was taking too long on one, and obviously labor is expensive, which is a really good thing to pay people. But if you're taking too long to pay something, then it's going to be too high for the consumer to buy. So trying to find the most efficient ways to make stuff without deterring off our brand values and going offshore was a really big challenge of trying to do that in New Zealand. And then sourcing the wool, I guess, is a challenge that we're still trying to find out how we can support it as much as possible. There's lots of farms that have wool, but it's, there's different shearing times at different times of the year. So trying to get the wool at the right time and making sure we have enough. We don't want to order too many laces and they don't have enough or not have enough and have the wrong time. So trying to sort out all that logistically, I guess, was probably the biggest challenge.
Wow, so you've gone through a real journey here. What is your take on the future of strong wool? Do you think it can make a comeback in fashion, for instance?
I absolutely think it can. I think that we have a bigger, wider lens on focusing on not just sustainability, but I'd hope like our culture in New Zealand and what we want to support and what makes us unique. And wool and sheep is one of those things. And I think there is a lot of really cool innovation going into the wool industry. And I hope that I'm going in towards that as well. I just exhibited at the gift fair last month and there was a lot of cool wool stuff that was coming out. And I think that people are really putting a conscious effort onto doing that. And I think as long as that effort is appreciated by consumers and people understand why wool is a really good material and why it's important to support it, there's absolutely no reason that we can't support this amazing material. There's just so many amazing properties of wool. It's fire resistant, odor absorbent. There's so many cool things about wool that just make it this really interesting product that is so ingrained in New Zealand culture as well. I absolutely believe that we can uplift its value, and especially in the fashion industry.
And you're in Japan at the moment on holiday. Can you see a product, for instance, that the Japanese might like, which is made of wool, New Zealand wool?
Yes. Me and my partner, if we never talk about this, she's Japanese and she's lived there on a few separate occasions. And a big thing is phone holders and ropes around your neck, which are effectively the exact same structure as wool. So we keep seeing them in the shops and going, oh man, like this is exactly what we need to buy. We need to make this would fit here perfectly. The shoelaces goal was to be a talking point and a statement of value, something that you don't think about a lot, really reflecting how important it is. Like I said, 20 billion pairs of shoes going into waste. Obviously, inherently switching your shoes now doesn't fix that issue, but if we can get it into the shoes in the first place, it does. And by thinking about wool and supporting our brand, we can begin to expand things. We've started testing last month on belts and lanyards.
Wow, it's all steam ahead for Steady. Is that the name of the company?
Yes, it is. It is. And then the wool lace is our woolen shoelaces.
The wool lace. You'll have to come up with a name for the phone holder too, Jacob.
I know. I was thinking though for belts, like belt would be perfect as well. It's like it stays on the same line.
That was Jacob Smith, woolen shoelace entrepreneur.